All right, we will go ahead and call to order the July 2nd City Council meeting. If everyone could rise for the pledge. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Has everyone had a chance to look at the meeting minutes from June 18th? If so, I'll ask for a motion to approve.
Make a motion, we approve the minutes from the 18th. Second it.
Motion from Mike, second from Troy. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed, carried. Are there any additional items for this evening's agenda? Hearing none, I'll ask for a motion to approve the set agenda.
Make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Second it.
Motion from Rick, second from Troy. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Guests in open forum. Is anyone here for guests in open forum this evening? Seeing no one, we'll move along to committee reports. The Budget and Finance Committee.
Budget and Finance. I have a whole bunch here. So. Budget and Finance, we met on June 20th. We talked, we went through the financials. Everything was pretty well where you'd expected, assuming straight line. We talked about the software purchase coming up and starting to demo some pieces of software for the accounting software we brought up last time. So trying to line up some ideas. Start to demo pieces of software and stuff, and involving Rob, our technical person, as well. So it's more than just being able to use it. It's how will the data transfer, like from our old system to our new system, things like that. So he's been involved with that as well from a technical standpoint. So just starting to look at those, preparing for budget this year. We talked about our next meeting. We might do a combination meeting. I think we talked about possibly inviting Phil to the next meeting, being this one you kind of get reacquainted with budget and finance, and Josh as well. That was pretty much it.
All right, Planning Committee.
Planning Commission, we had a public hearing for a conditional use permit for a portable concrete plant for AMCON, and we approved that. That will be before the council tonight.
Okay. Golf Committee.
Golf Committee, we went over the numbers year to date and the results from the high school league and the MGA tournaments, and we were doing comparisons because I was questioning if thought it was doing so much better because it seemed like a lot more people, and numbers were up substantially for those events, and we appear to be on track.
Joint Planning.
Joint Planning, we met last week. We had a request from Sherburne County about possibly amending Carefree Country Club's CUP. There's a little bit of discretion, or there's some question, I should say, about the number of lots that they have out there, whether it was 404 versus 400, but the original CUP doesn't mention it. So the county there was a question at the county, so the county basically tossed back to the board and said, okay, is this something you need to reevaluate? After discussion, we said no, we're not going to reopen the CUP there. That was pretty much it. That was our only line of business there.
Excel.
Excel, we met last Friday. We discussed there was a recent planned outage that they came through under budget and ahead of schedule, so that was good. Talked about one coming up next year, and then we also talked a little bit about the process for the filing that took place here on 7/1. So that kind of starts the next round, so to speak, as we're talking about their next IRP. So the process starts 7/1 here officially. That's when it was filed, and then there'll be many hearings before the Public Utilities Commission And it could be a year, maybe even 18 months, until they would give a final decision. So could be end of next year before we see final action. So Excel filed their preferred plan, and then there'll be, people will get to weigh in on it, and that's where the hearings will start. So, and then we talked about moving Excel to a quarterly meeting as well, but there'll be more on that. So.
Highway 25 Coalition. Did you attend?
I did not.
Nope, me either.
Greg did though.
All right. Board committee and consultant reports. Purchase of a Sea Lime Magma M2 crack seal metler. Mr. Knutson. Is there a nickname for this machine? Is it
Crack seal melter is probably fine.
Melter?
It's Simline is where it's at, so we just
All
go
right,
there.
thank you.
But Mayor and Council, good evening, and come before you tonight. Staff has been working on this for a few weeks now. What we're hoping to do is to give you a little background on this. We don't have this budgeted in our CIP. If approved, it will go on the CIP, but we do have budgeted in our operating budget $115,000 for this line item. The purpose behind this is to acquire a piece of equipment that we can do the crack sealing in-house with our staff. And we can cover more ground, and we can do it more cost-effective. For 2019, the budget that was proposed by SEH was $78,700. For that money, $67,000 roughly, we can buy this piece of equipment, the materials to put it down, cover our labor and other expenses, and we feel with the material we can even cover more ground on that. So we're going to save money out of our operating budget, and long-term we'll propose savings year over year over year with this piece of equipment. So we're going to take that operating, as an example, that operating line budget is $115 for 2020. We actually reduced it by $85,000 to $30,000, and that's negotiable a little bit. We might be able to pull that down even further. So we hope to see those savings year after year. So with that, we went out. Al has done a really good job. Chris, one of the first things that we talked about when I came on board was this project and seeing if we could move it. So Al Foss from Streets and Chris have been working on this together with me to find out what we can do, how we can deploy our team to do some of this. We're going to give up a little bit of mowing and maybe do some contract work there. Our staff and using our expertise to do some of these bigger ticket items, we feel we can stretch our budget and create better value for the city. So we looked at this. The Simline machine that we're looking at is a used piece of equipment. There's 95 hours on it roughly, but we feel for the dollars, it's not the cheapest. There was a cheaper one out there, $35,000, but it had between 500 and 600 hours. Less features, smaller hopper. So we just felt it wasn't in our best needs. And since the savings were pretty significant, we felt like going with the Simline was the better option. So before you, we'd like to propose purchasing that. Again, it would come out of our operating budget, but it would be transferred onto the CIP with a 10-year life expectancy, and that's how we move it forward. So I did put all that background in your packet, so you had a chance to review it. So if there's any other questions.
Yeah, is this going to lead to more staff?
No.
Does this have a onboard compressor for cleaning out the cracks before you seal them?
No, we'll use our towable.
Okay.
This is the project we talked about, I think, two public works ago.
I know we talked about it.
Yeah.
I just come up with these questions that I want answers for, that's all.
What we're going to look to do, Mr. Doring, is redeploy some of our staff. So right now, some of our staff that's doing some of the mowing, we can offset that cost by redeploying them to do some of these jobs where are more technical, that when you hire it out, you can see the numbers. It's very expensive, so if we can redeploy our teams to do some of this stuff, we can cover more ground for the same or less money.
Is the mowing going to cost us the same, more or less, by hiring it out?
The same or less, depending on the situation. So what we're going to look to do, if you take everything, add it all up, and just say, on that $85,000 that we're going to save from the crack sealing material, if you net it out and say we invest worst case scenario on a one-to-one basis. We take away mowing that our staff is doing and contract that mowing out. You're still going to save over $50,000 a year.
Okay, have you checked into contracting prices?
Yes,
Okay, and that's where you come up with this?
yes.
Okay. Another question I have is kind of unrelated, but it's the staff doing stuff. I saw on the monthly newsletter, you want to call it, or brief, where the maintenance staff was doing sheet rocking out at the BAC, which I'm not opposed to, but bringing that up, is that something that could be hired out at costing us less than having our staff do it for the wages that we pay?
On a larger scale project, yes. On a small scale project like that, I think it was best that we deployed our staff to do that.
It's hard to get people to come do
Yes.
small
Yeah,
things.
no, I know. I got a
So-
little, yeah, I realize
Yeah,
that.
and that's really what, with me coming on board, that's what I'm trying to do, is to find out, are we using our budgeted dollars to the best, again, I always say value, but what's our best value out there for the dollars that were allocated? And sometimes it is best to use our staff, sometimes it's not, and we should contract some of those services. So this was one that we felt was somewhat low-hanging fruit. There's a huge opportunity here, and I think that the paybacks are pretty instant. The nice thing on this as well is that springtime is the best time to get to our cracks. They're open.
Right.
You know, we can
Well,
get out
even
there and
now,
see.
there's a lot of them, I notice there's a lot
Sure.
of them out there.
Yeah, and our goal again on this is that we can cover more ground. So the material that we're going to put down right now, we feel we can probably grab a few extra miles with the staff that we've got. And the goal is to play some catch up, but once you're there, you just put a lot of money into street infrastructure over the last several years. And sometimes, based on what we're going right now, you can't get to everything. So we're not even identifying streets that are 2 and 3 years old, which we should be doing. We'd like to get on First Street yet this year from Gardner down to Edgewood. If you can do that right now and do that on any of your streets, you can actually prolong these streets. So taking a street from 25 years to 30 years or even 35 years, that's our goal. So we can stretch our dollars out and lengthen the street CIP if we can.
Because the cracks, water gets in, freezes,
Absolutely.
breaks them up.
Absolutely.
And the city owns a compressor?
Yes, yes.
With that being said, what are you gonna do with all the mowers? Are just gonna be sitting then, or what are we gonna think about doing with that stuff if we're gonna contract year after year?
For 2019, we're taking enough away that we can deploy staff to cover the crack sealing that we want to do, but it's not enough. That's our goal, ultimately, to get rid of one of the mowers if we can, take it off a CIP. People don't realize the mowers that we're running, $91,000 on an 8-year CIP replacement on the CIP. If we can get rid of one of those, that would be the ultimate goal, but that's not the first step. The first step is, if it sits there, you know, for a day or two a week, for 6 weeks while we're doing this.
It just lasts longer.
Exactly. Yeah, so that's what we're looking to do, but to your point, if we can get rid of one of, we will. I did put a contingency in here as well, because we may need to, and speaking with Al, we may need to replace a hose on that compressor. So again, I'm trying to package everything in here so it's not coming out of any other budget, so we can, you know, show that we're truly saving this money.
Well, you're gonna save it in-house, there's no doubt about that.
I don't have any other questions.
Sure.
Yeah, good work. I said it privately in an email, say it publicly. Good work. I mean, it just seems like a win all the way around.
Thank you.
Cap the staff.
If there are no more questions, I'll ask for a motion to approve the purchase.
I'll make the motion. What's the,
Motion to approve the purchase of the melder from Swanson Equipment for $44,000.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second that.
Motion from Mike, second from Rick. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Amcon Products Temporary Batch Plant CUP, Ms. Flipson.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Tonight before you is the application for that conditional use permit. Normally within the power generation district, these are a permitted use. However, since this is a temporary plant, this one would be required to have the conditional use permit just because it's temporary in nature. Planning Commission has reviewed this, and it's pretty straightforward, simply for the fact that it is normally a permitted use. So the conditions basically pull directly out of code and would be required of any permitted permanent structures as well. The only difference is there's one condition that would have the CUP reviewed every 2 years to determine if it should be renewed or revoked at that time. Otherwise, Planning Commission did recommend approval of this. Otherwise, I'd be happy to answer any questions. There were no public comments during the public hearing either, so.
If there's no questions or comments, I'll make a motion to pass resolution 1938. This is a use permit for AmCon.
Second?
Motion from Mike, second from Rick. Any other discussion on it? With none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Thank you, Marie. We'll move into the Frontage Road 2018 bonding bill resolution. Ms. Flipson.
Thank you. So as you recall, last year we were working on different funding options for the Frontage Road project. The bonding bill that was passed had $3.3 million allocated in it. We had some other state funding as part of that. However, in order to move the project forward and start getting some of those grant funds signed specifically for our project, we have to pass resolutions showing that we are doing the project and that we're funded. So tonight in front of you, there is a resolution, 1939. There was a very similar resolution passed a couple months back for the BDPI funds through deed. This is almost an exact duplicate of that resolution. It just switches out the dollar amounts to this time account for the bonding bill, where in that one it was accounting for the BDPI funds. So if there's no other questions, I'd ask for support for that resolution.
Make a motion, we pass resolution 1939, bonding bill resolution for Frontage Road.
Motion from Mike, second from Troy. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried.
Thank you.
Thank you, Marie. Hot water storage tank replacement, Mr. Kua.
Madam Mayor, members of council, tonight I have in front of you a request for council action regarding our hot water storage tanks at the Becker Community Center. Earlier this year, the maintenance department at BCC identified leaking and deterioration of the hot water storage tanks. These two tanks work in concert to hold about 400 gallons of hot water to service the demand of the domestic water at the facility. They are original to the building and far beyond their useful life. It's the opinion of staff and contractors that the tanks need to be replaced as soon as possible. The replacement would entail shutting down water service at the facility for approximately 6 to 8 hours. For that reason, we would propose to align this project to occur at the same time as the water slide restoration project scheduled at the end of this month, July 19. City staff recommends awarding the project to H2O Pro out of Clear Lake, as they have the load bid and they've done good work at other city properties. Budgetary and fiscal impact of this, the replacement cost would be $15,500 and would be funded through the building repairs and maintenance within the operating budget. This expense would not cause that line item to exceed the budgeted amount for the 2019 year. We have added a line in the CIP list going forward so that this piece of equipment would be properly funded when future replacement is needed. So I'm looking for support in approving the purchase of the two 200-gallon hot water storage tanks at the community center from H2O Pro in the amount of $15,500. Be happy to answer any questions that anyone might have.
How bad are they leaking?
There, from the pictures, you can see the corrosion of the lining. It does leak out into the floor drains on a regular basis.
Are you, when does the shutdown take place?
On July 15th.
Okay, so less than about 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Okay.
Are there any other solutions, like on demand or anything that would have been more cost efficient?
Not to service the demand of the building, so this has nothing to do with the pool. It's just for the the showers and the hot water. So the water comes from the boilers and then gets stored in these two vertical tanks. at that hot temperature. If they were to fail, the boilers could keep up for a little while, but in the opinion of all the contractors, and I imagine the initial design of the building too, that amount of gallons to hold that hot water was appropriate for the usage of the building. And you can't just replace one versus the other because they're both original and have deteriorated at the same rate. So to keep everything on schedule for replacement makes sense to.
I'm surprised they
They're
lasted
both
this
or-
long.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
both
This
originals?
thing's, yeah,
Mhm.
25.
1994.
It's a long
You
time.
got a good deal.
Oh,
Just think of your house. I think they'd last no way.
Gone through two or three water
Take a lot
heaters
of
since
showers or
94.
something.
The concern would be if these were to fail. There's a couple of control valves at the top of them, and staff and the contractors actually wouldn't even feel comfortable valving those off for fear that they'd give way. And if they did fail during the course of operation, sourcing the replacements and the work, we could leave us without hot domestic water for, a lengthy period of time while the repairs were taken on.
That's why I was asking how bad they were leaking, because,
Yeah.
they could get real bad fast.
When did we notice this?
It was brought to my attention about 3-4 weeks ago.
any other questions? Otherwise, I'll ask for a motion.
Make a motion to approve the purchase of two 200-gallon hot water storage tanks for the Becker Community Center from H2O Pro in the amount of $15,500.
I'll second it.
Motion from Rick, second from Mike. Any other discussion with it? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Thank you, Mr. Kula.
Thank you.
Consent agenda.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. City Council, on the consent agenda this evening, we do have a revised version, so please take note of that. Items number 1, 2, and 3 are hiring and termination report forms from Pebble Creek Golf Club, our Public Services Department, and the Becker Community Center. Item number 4 is Resolution 1940, which is accepting donations, and I'll just quickly review those. Donation from the Rogers Police Department, live scan fingerprint station, and that purpose is to our Becker Police Department. And then also the Eddy Foundation has donated 5 medical kits also to our Becker Police Department. Item number 5, new tobacco license. Item number 6 is a personnel policy update. Cellular phone use. Remember, there's a hands-free law going into effect on the 1st of August. This is our reaction to bring ourselves into compliance. Item number 7, City Hall copier replacement. And then item number 8, authorizing SEH to complete a data evaluation related to our well exploration activities. Something that was certainly planned for when it comes to our overall well exploration, but kind of the last piece we want to get done so we can make a decision on the purchase of that well property. So with that, if you have any questions, I'll try to answer. Otherwise, a motion to approve would be appreciated.
I will make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second it?
Motion from Rick, second from Troy. Any questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Payment of the bills.
Motion to pay the bills?
Motion from Troy, second from Rick. Any questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Anniversary announcements for the month of July. Roger Bellinger, he is our mechanic at the Public Works. He will be celebrating 4 years with us. Corey Bitkin from the Streets Department and Chad Clausen will both be celebrating their first anniversary with us. They are also at the Streets and Parks maintenance worker. And Jeremy Halverson, who works in our water area, will be celebrating 22 years with us. So congratulations to those folks. Does council have anything else for the betterment of Becker? If not, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion from Rick, second from Mike. All in favor say aye. Aye. We are adjourned at 5:26.